told, there was another battle going on that, believe it or not, was more fierce and more deadly and more bloody. It was called the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest. It has been totally eclipsed by the Battle of the Bulge. I'm not complaining about it, but it was. And in the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest, there was a U.S. Army company that had been literally cut off, surrounded by the Germans. And for 5 days, the Germans pounded these Americans. There was no hope of anybody breaking through and relieving them. They were surrounded by the Germans, and the Germans were just hammering artillery fire 24 hours a day. Don't think for a second you know what that's like. I don't know what that's like. I know that after about 2 hours of it, I would just run screaming down the hill, hoping to catch a .30 caliber machine gun bullet in the gut and die. Men were going insane. That's what happens. Men literally go insane. Can you imagine day and night, no sleep, 5 days, these Germans pounded. They wanted to kill every last American on that hill. But you know what they were really waiting for? They were waiting for tanks. After 5 days, German tanks arrived. Now, you're just talking about an infantry company, and you just really can't hurt a tank with a .30 caliber pistol or rifle bullet. And after 5 days of hammering, the artillery stopped. And as these Americans on this smoldering hill that has been battered for 5 days, they heard the sound of the tread of a German tank. One. Just one. It come clanking up. It's just coming straight up toward the lines. It got about from here to the back wall of this sanctuary from the front lines. It's right there. The hatch opened. A German officer appeared and said, in 1 hour, we are going to attack. We have tanks. We are going to roll right over top of you. We're going to kill all of you. Anybody that wants to can go back with me. We'll let you go. We'll make you a prisoner, and you'll live. If you stay, you die. You've got 2 minutes. Man, that was a long 2 minutes. I mean, for 2 minutes, nobody moved, nobody breathed. That German officer sat there in the half out of that tank, just like this, waiting to see what the reaction was going to be. All along that line, those Americans are looking at that. You know what they're looking at? I mean, 5 days, guys. 5 days of being hammered. Now, after being hammered for 5 days, they get to be killed. And they watch that German. Now, you know what that tank was? Freedom. Life. It wasn't freedom. It's life. They're not even going to have that inside of an hour. I wonder if anybody's going to go. 2 minutes and 45 seconds went by. 2 minutes and 50 seconds went by. 2 minutes and 55 seconds went by. One American GI threw down his rifle, leaped out of his foxhole, ran, said, wait, ran to the tank. He climbed up on that tank, climbed down inside. That German said, is that all? That was all. Buttoned up the tank, down the hill they went. They opened fire. And that day, the American army broke through and relieved them. That guy held on for 5 days. He stopped short, didn't he? You know what he thought? I can't go any farther. If he'd have gone a little farther, he'd have marched home with the rest of them. But he spent the rest, and think about this, guys. He didn't just spend the rest of the war in a German prisoner war camp. He spends the rest of his life reliving his last hour of active combat. Don't you know? What do you think he says? Oh, if I just wouldn't have quit, if I'd have just gone a little farther. Oh man, if I'd have just hit the ground, if I'd have just hit it 3 more times, if we'd have just prayed, no wind, if I'd have just said, God, let the shell hit the deer. Don't stop short. I'd like you to stand with your heads bowed.